Hello, everybody. This is Alia Jamal, the love coach, and we are meeting for another love circle with a new time at 1 p.m. Eastern. And today we are talking about what is your purpose? Now, this is a question that my client asks me a lot because usually when someone is going through self development, that is something they are after, that is something they want to discover. And that is also a question that is very confusing for a lot of people. And it is, part of being a human and having a good relationship with ourselves. I thought, let's talk about this topic because I have mentioned it here and there, but we never had a dedicated topic, a whole session just about your purpose. So let's dig in. Now, what is a purpose? So think of not just about yourself. Think of what is the purpose of this pen? What is the purpose of having a home? What is the purpose of having a tree? So we got somebody joining us here. Hi, Julie. Thank you so much for joining us here live. So if you think about what is the purpose of a flower, what is the purpose of a tree, what is the purpose of anything in nature or in your life, if you pay attention to it, everything has a very specific purpose. I'm just going to cough for a second. Everything has a purpose. Just like that, us human, we have a purpose too. Now, where it gets confusing, especially as women, we look at ourselves, okay, we can, host a baby in our body and the men can't. So our purpose is to give birth, to increase, to move to that next generation. A lot of us get confused with that. So what that is, that's part of your life cycle. Because us human, we are different than animal in this aspect. If you watch a squirrel, that's what they do. They wake up, go eat, and then they have more kids. That's part of their life cycle. This is part of our life cycle. But if you pay attention to, squirrel has a purpose in the environment it's living. If it's in the forest, maybe its purpose is to take those acorn nuts, and it's taking them to different places. Sometimes it's burning them because that's how they like to hide food. And then they forget about it. And that's how the seeds are getting spread. So that would be the purpose. But just having more kids and going through that whole life cycle, that is not our purpose. So if you are a mom, just take a deep breath and realize that even though motherhood is so challenging, and it requires a lot of hard work and it requires a lot of your energy, that is not your purpose. There are so many women who are just sitting with a dormant seed within them because they thought, raising kid is their purpose. Now, why do we even want to have this conversation? This is what end up happening. So by the time we come to age 40, it's some kind of magical number in terms of spirituality. Our brain becomes the most mature at the age of 40. And at our spiritual level, there's a lot of changes that are happening. So if you are 40 and you have not discovered your purpose and you are not living your purpose, what end up happening? This is your body and there's a soul moving through it all day long. The soul is like, hey, I came here to do something and you're not doing it. So there starts to be a bit of a struggle within you. And it comes out in terms of anxiety. It comes out as depression. What we all know it as midlife crisis. That's when, somebody would be like, you know what? I've been doing the same thing for, let's say, 20 years. I don't want to do it anymore. I want to discover what's more to life. Another way that you can tell, your purpose it's ready to come through you. you will start having this thought, there's more to life than what I am just doing. There's something else, there's something more, and I want to discover it. And it will become like a burning desire within you. Now, burning desire is a word that Napoleon Hill used a lot in Think and Grow Rich. So if you have studied that book, you're familiar with this term, burning desire. It becomes like, no matter what it takes, I'm just gonna figure out what's out there. So what will start happening? This is what started happening in my life. I started taking all the extra money after paying my bills, and I started investing all of it in courses, in getting certificate, in buying books, in going to seminar. I'm driving places. I'm using all my vacation time. Like there was no vacation for almost 4 years. It either went into when kid got sick or it went into studying, because that desire becomes so strong that I want to discover who I am, what am I supposed to do, that the beautiful vacation does not sound that appealing anymore. If you are in that spot, if that's what you're going through, if that's how you're feeling, you're pretty close to going after your purpose. But if, let's say, you're just in a spot where you're like, I mean, life is good, I like my job, but I would love to find out what my purpose is, then I'm gonna guide you through, like, what are the steps that you can go through. So just recapping, what is your purpose? Purpose is outside of your life cycle. This is something you came here to do. That's what purpose is, and we'll go into more details about it. Now, let's get into why it's important to live your purpose. It's windy here, and I think the allergy effect is getting into my throat. Why it's important to figure out that purpose. If you are not going to, purpose gives you a direction in your life that this is what I'm going to do. If you don't have that direction and you're just going to a 9 to 5, coming home, 9 to 5, coming home, sleeping, and then doing the same thing over and over and over, that's not what humans are for, because there's no growth. But when you go towards your purpose, there's growth. And what kind of growth is there? When we start walking the path of our purpose, we have to do one thing: shed all the layers of lies, realizing that everything we thought about ourselves was a lie that somebody told us. It's not true. You have to go through that process. Like no person have arrived at their purpose and lived their purpose without going through the shedding of the lies that they were taught. So what's going to happen in the process, you're going to become more like how you were born. You're going to come in alignment with the power that created you and not the power that birthed you, our parents. So we all are adults here. We all have parents, and most of us knew our parents. Maybe somebody was raised by somebody else and not their biological parents, but most of us, let's assume, were raised by our parents. We take characteristics and beliefs of our parents, and they took it from their parents, and usually that is surrounded around survival. Make sure you have enough money to survive and make sure you retire a bit wealthy. It's all about survival. So we are not who we were born to be. So when you go after, what is my purpose in this world? You start shedding those layers, those lies, and you start discovering who you are outside of how you have known yourself to be. For example, if you're a very critical person, if you always criticize yourself, you might feel like, oh, that's who I am. You might say, Alia, this is who I am. This is who I have always been. So I know myself. So I would challenge you, hey, take the journey of growth and you would discover you're something completely different than who you think you are. And I have experienced that opening within myself, and I have seen that opening happening within my clients where they start one way, and by the time they are done, they are a completely different person. They have different kind of habits. They talk to themselves differently. They talk to other people differently. They have more motivation, more desire to do things. And maybe in the past they didn't have that. So that process happens when we go out to find that purpose. And if we are not making that jump, we're just going to stay in the comfort of that triangle. Get up, go to work, come home, sleep, get up, go home. And a lot of people, when they've retired, they are so bitter. The reason they are so bitter because that voice within them is like, you could have lived for something else. But what do we say? Oh, I have a lot of responsibility. I have responsibility of my family. I need a stable job. I can't really go for my desires or what I really want. Maybe I wanted to be a painter, but that didn't really cover the mortgage. So I need to stay at this job and do that. So those are the excuses we tell to ourselves. So when we get older, that turns into resentment against our own self. I am not saying quit your job and go after your purpose, but I'm just sharing, that's what end up being. What we are really missing is the growth that we didn't go through. And sometimes it feels like now it's impossible to experience that growth. But that growth can be experienced at any time in your life. Like I know people who are way past their retirement age and they are still learning, they're still growing. So no matter where you are in your life, you can always grow and you can discover that passion. And maybe in your 80s, you'll be living your purpose. Who knows? So it's never like, oh, you don't have time. As long as you are still in a human body, you have the chance to discover that purpose and live that purpose. Now let's get into why do we want to do that? What good it's going to bring you if you have a very stable job, beside the growth piece, what it's going to do for you. So this is what happens. So now I'm going to share about a little bit, the woo-woo stuff about purpose, which you might agree with, you might not agree with. This is how I have understood it. It makes sense to me. It might not make sense to you. So when we come down to this earth, when we are just a soul up there and we are deciding to come down here, we all come here to do something very specific. There are different theories. Some people say we keep coming back into our human body till we have developed to certain strength or certain place. Some people say we only come one time, depending on what religious background you follow. But when we are ready to come this time around, we know what we are coming here to do. We know that. And we do have other people around us who are going to help us on this journey when we come here. And what we are coming here to do, we are coming here to do something that's going to help humanity. And that is something that's going to help me grow to my next level of existence. It's going to create that expansion within me. You might think, Alia, but the soul or the spirit is already unlimited. Why it needs that growth? It's always growing. It's always growing and realizing its oneness with the one who created. So if you believe in only one God or one higher power or one universe, like if you grew up with that oneness belief or you discovered it on your own, so the soul is always developing to align with the oneness of God. What is that? Pure light and pure love. But we got all these things going on within us. So let's say this time around, I came down, and the purpose I maybe, let's say, come here down to is really help people connect with their heart. By the way, that is what I keep hearing so far. Really helping people connect with their heart. But how can I do it if I'm not even connected with my heart? So I was a very good student, moving along life, doing like, usual thing, getting married, falling in love. But if I am not connected with my heart, if my heart has not healed, if I am still living as a carbon copy of my parents, like, taking all their beliefs, all whatever they taught me, or whatever trauma I saw, whatever survival response I had to that trauma, if I am just living like that, then am I going to live my purpose? So then something happened. So then the people who committed, I'll help you. I'll help you through this journey. So then they do all kind of crazy stuff that cracks me open. When it cracks me open, I have no choice but to connect with my heart, but to heal my heart, but to go on that journey of healing. And through the process, especially when I started meditating, because it felt like I couldn't even exist in this body, it felt so uncomfortable. When I start doing those meditation and I am disconnecting with everyone, and such a deep desire to just connect with myself, that's when I hear the voice. You are here to help others connect with their heart. And that is a voice I keep hearing, keep hearing. And then it's like, okay, what do I do with that? That is the purpose talking to you. That is the higher self telling you that this is what you are here to do. And then it's like, okay, if I'm here to do that, I need to have, like, confidence. I need to grow beyond, like, my own sense of, like, how I want to control and stay safe and stay comfortable. So all that growth is necessary. So then it's my job to find those people who have already achieved it, or who already have expanded to that level, and learn from them so I can live my purpose. Otherwise, if I would have just stuck with, like, whatever my parents have taught me, and it was all about, like, make sure you always have a good job, good house, it's all about safety, then I won't be able to really nurture or live my purpose or help other people. So I just took you guys through my own example, like, how finding the purpose have been for me. But look at your life. Look at the challenges that you are going through. Your challenges might be very different than my challenges. What end up happening, our human mind and the people around us, when we are going through a challenge, we start judging it. I cannot tell you how many times I heard, like, the reason I am going through all these challenges because, maybe I need to just, ask for forgiveness from God, or maybe, like, I'm not a good person, or maybe I need to pray for myself, because we go into judgment. But when we go through challenges in the human form, it is to open you up. It is to you becoming so desperate to get rid of that pain that you're like, you know what? I would do anything to find the answer how to resolve that pain. I mean, some people they go towards numbing their pain by using substance, and some people go into the mountains, and some people they go to every single seminar, every single teacher they can find. They try to read every single book. But at the end, we all are able to connect with what we are here to do. Now, if we don't go through all of that, and if, like, let's say when the challenges happen and we're like, why me? Why this has to do with me? And then, maybe your friends say, hey, you know what? I'm listening to this podcast. Maybe you should check it out. And you completely shut her out. And you're like, I don't even want to talk to you. You have no idea what I'm going through. And I have been that person. Like, my sister tried to tell me, hey, can you read this book? Next time she'll visit me, there'll be like a diaper bag on top of that book, or diaper cream on top of that book. But I wouldn't touch it till it became so painful that I wanted to heal that pain within me. So if, let's say, you don't hear the cues that universe is sending you, a friend who's recommending something, maybe you watch something, maybe you saw a book, and you're just stay in your bitter place. By the time you retire, let's say if you pass 40, you're going to feel something is missing. You're going to feel you're a little bit lost. And that's when it starts turning into resentment. We look at our life and we start blaming our responsibilities. We maybe start blaming our spouse. We maybe start blaming our family. Well, my family told me to be this way. And I mean, I work with all people in all ages, and it does happen when we are not happy within ourselves. And then again, we have a choice. We can die miserable, or maybe you're in your 70s and you're like, I feel like something is missing within me. I feel like there's something more I can do right now for the world, for myself. And I'm going to figure out how I'm going to do it. Once you make that decision, everything starts opening to you. Once you make that decision, things that you were not able to see before, you can see now. Because what's happening with the decision, the power of the decision, your awareness is expanding. The world is going to stay the same. Like, back in the day, all these teachers and coaches that I have learned from, they were already here, but I didn't know about them. I was very happy crying all the time and staying in so much pain. I was very happy. But once I decided, one after the other, I started seeing those teachers. So when we are going to go for our purpose, we are going to go through the transformation that we came here to do. And the second part of living our purpose, you're going to benefit the people that you said you will benefit or you would help. Each and every one of us have people that we are going to help. Each and every one of us. There's no one in this world who's like, well, I was born useless. No one needs me. You can think all you want, but there are people out there. They are your people, and only you can help them. Why? Because you had a contract with them. When we go down, I'll help you. Maybe I'll help you when you are in the lowest point in your life and whatnot. Now, this is a theory that makes sense to me and how I have seen my own life come together. You don't have to adopt it. You can live in your, whatever your theory is. But to me, it makes sense. People show up in your life at the right time, at the exact moment when you really need them, to inspire you, to uplift you, maybe guide you, maybe take you through on a journey. They always do. And once you will start living that purpose of helping other people, one thing that's going to happen that is most magical, you become extremely happy within you. Extremely, extremely, extremely happy. Like, I can tell you, I remember that day very, very, very clearly. The day I said yes to my purpose was I booked a venue for my first workshop. And, I was literally like a baby coach at that time. It was like really baby coach. But this thing within me said, teach on a bigger scale. It was scary. Like, I had to put in all the deposit by myself without selling even a single ticket. But I did it. And the next day when I woke up, I signed the contract at 4 p.m. The next day I woke up, not kidding you, the world just changed. Everything stayed the same, but from that day onward, my world has completely changed. I have gone through crazy stuff after that, but there's nothing that can take this happiness away from me. It's almost like, think of it when you were a little kid. And you had this, maybe you were obsessed with, gems or stones or something. As long as you had that thing within you, you were fine no matter what happened. No matter if nobody played with you, you'd be like, well, I have this. I don't need anybody. We all go through that stage. Like I have seen my son go through that stage. Like, they just need something little in their hand and they feel completely safe and they feel completely fine with anything that happened. That's exactly how it feels because through the process of transformation, of saying yes to yourself, somehow you come in alignment with a part of you that completes you. And when you are living like that, where you feel complete and whole all the time, it creates a magical life for you. Even your relationships start transforming. Sometime in a way that whoever doesn't belong in your life is going to just um, exit. Sometimes that's happened. New relationships come in. Your worry of money starts to change. Your health starts to get better. I have way more energy now than I have ever had in any part of my life. Because the more you walk on your purpose, the younger you get. Not kidding you, that's exactly how it feels. Why? Because you're coming in alignment with who you are, who you were born to be. And you might be thinking, okay, Ali, if purpose is so big and if we all came here to help each other, then why did I forget? Why did I forget and why I have to go through all this craziness? When we go through the birthing process, we forget everything. We forget where we came from, why we came here, and then we are exposed to a very chaotic situation most of the time. Where we have to figure out, okay, how to fit in this family, and good luck if you're the youngest in six, which is I am. You really have to figure out, like, how to fit in here, and who to please, and where you can get the food from, and who you should make happy. Then you grow older with all those behaviors and those emotional patterns. And then you're like, okay, what is this purpose deal? If I came here to do that, why did I forget? Imagine if you were born with that purpose. You were not going to go through any growth. You were not going to go through realizing how powerful you are. I am pretty sure at some point in humanity that was the case. And even now, I'm sure there's some kids, they are born and they just know what they came here to do. But I certainly wasn't one of them. But the journey that I took, even if I'm given the chance to do it all over again, I would definitely do it all over again. Back then it used to feel pain, and now it feels like, yes, I found me through that pain. So the joy is so much bigger that it doesn't even matter what I went through, because now I can use that to help so many other people. Like it's very common that I'll have a conversation with somebody and I'll say, I know exactly what you're going through and this is how I'm going to move through it. And that is how each and every one of us, we have a purpose that is going to help guide other people. But first, it's going to help us come in alignment with our true self, with our soul, with the power that is moving through us at all time. And also, it's going to give us the juiciness to go through that growth process and transform all the areas of our life. So that's why we go through it. That is part of being a human, but it's always outside of our life cycle. Our purpose is always outside of the life cycle. Now, we are going to talk about what your purpose is not, and then how can you connect with your purpose. So we'll go a little bit faster through that. Now, a lot of people, what they do, they would see, oh, that person just opened a nonprofit organization and that person is like, happy and they're sharing with everybody. So they would be like, okay, maybe that is the purpose. I'll go and open a nonprofit organization. And then they do that and then they are not happy. Somebody might go and they would do, because we feel at our core, intuitively, we all know that our purpose has to do something to serve others. So a lot of people get confused with that. In a way, they would just become a volunteer and they're volunteering themselves to death. They are volunteering everywhere. And they're like, oh, that's my purpose. And that's helping people, helping people. It's taught as a noble thing. You cannot help someone else if you don't help yourself. So if you are a chronic volunteer and you get no rest, you're not helping anybody. You're doing wrong to yourself, and you're showing up places with that energy. I have to do this. I have to do this. That's not how purpose feels. So don't look around at what your friend is doing, what somebody on Instagram is doing, what somebody on Facebook is doing. This is something you have to go inward and seek there. You might even see somebody opening like business regarding art, and that's what they're doing. And you're like, well, I like to do art too. Maybe that's my purpose. Let me do that. Your purpose speaks through you. And it requires being patient and listening to the voice that's talking to you. Otherwise, you're going to jump onto somebody else's timeline just to realize that wasn't even your timeline and your people are waiting for you. And you might say like, oh, Ali, I can't really see myself as like I can help other people. We all have people that we're gonna support and help and nourish, and they are already here and they are waiting for us. When my coach told me this thing, it literally lit a fire under my butt. It literally did. Because I was kind of dilly-dallying. Okay, I'll do this, I'll do that. Okay, I'm not consistent showing up in my own business. And when he said, do you realize there are people out there waiting for you and they are not going to get help from anyone but you? It was just like, oh my God, there's urgency to it. I cannot be just, dilly-dallying anymore. I need to take this serious. I'm already on this path and I need to commit to it 110%. That's when so many things started to change the way I teach. And, that's where Love Circle came into being as well. It was like, I need to get out there and teach in any way that I can teach. So I started this. So for each and every one of us, like your purpose might not be, teaching like how I'm teaching. Your purpose might be like, opening an orphanage. There may be some orphan who are waiting for you to open an orphanage. Your purpose might be like, providing meals to kids who don't have them. That could be your purpose. But I see with a lot of people, they will see like, somebody open up orphanage or they started supporting. Yes, we can support all the charities, and they jump onto that. And after 5 years, they are just drained energetically. They are trying to do it because it's the noble thing to do, and they've thought it's their purpose, but they are energetically drained. But then another person is putting in even more work, but is getting more energized and more energized. So that brings us to how to connect with your purpose. I want you to think of the time when you were young. Not like 2, but let's say when you were like 10, 11, 12, 13. If you can recall that time, what was something that you really love doing? Not just enjoy doing, but something you love doing. It really gave you like, juice to do that. And you could do it anytime, and your parents didn't have to push you or yell at you to do that. Think of that. That is your purpose. Now you might say, well, Alia, at that time, I was really good at art. I was painting all the time. I'll spend most of my time just painting. I was so into it. But could that be my purpose? Like, am I just supposed to create art and do that? It could be exactly that, or it could be when you're going to start painting again as an adult, your purpose or your awareness will open up to it. Oh, that's what I'm supposed to do, because you're going to be so in your element that you will be able to hear the voice of your soul. Your purpose is not hidden somewhere that you have to take a journey and you have to find it. It's a treasure hunt. It's already here. It's right under your nose sometime. You might be already doing it a little bit without knowing that's what really your purpose, and now it's time to maybe put 100% focus on it. So really pay attention to. It's so funny. I would tell you what I was doing during that time. I used to be, so in first 15, 16 years of my life, I grew up in Pakistan. Um, and I used to be the go-to girl if anybody had boys problem. So if any girl, she has any kind of boys trouble, whether she has a crush but she doesn't know how to go forward, or a guy is bothering her or bullying her, making fun of her, I was a go-to person for all those years. That and I would just always tell them what to do. Somehow I just always knew and to tell them what to do. And one very specific thing I remember, we were ending, like one class was ending and the next one was starting, and everybody was writing in each other's notebook. And somebody asked a question: who do you want to be when you grow up? And my answer was, I want to grow up being a human. And everybody laughed at that, and they were like, what do you mean? And I said, well, there's an animal aspect to it, and we can only, like, grow through it and really come to the highest level of being, and that is what a human is. Now that I think about it, that's what self-development is. At that age, I already knew. So my being was already telling me, Alia, this is your purpose. But how long did it take me to get there? Like almost 2 decades to get there. So really pay attention to what you were doing. And if you cannot recall the time because maybe there was a lot of trauma going on and you're like, I cannot remember that time, it's just out of my memory, then meditate with yourselves with this question. I know that my purpose is already within me. Show it to me. Ask your higher self for a little bit of help. Or you can start paying attention to right now, what is something you love to do? It sounds so crazy, but you just love to do it. Start doing that. It's going to bring you to a way of feeling that it's going to open more awareness for you. So let's say if you love to ride a motorbike, you just love, 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 love to ride it. But then because you're a mom and it's all about safety and you don't have time, you haven't been doing it. Get on a bike and let that wind feel against your body. Let yourself have that kind of joy, and then see if something new opens up to you. Because these questions that we are asking, these are questions that are coming from our soul. So we have to go to maybe a little bit different dimension than our regular day-to-day life to connect with that. Because it's different. The feeling is different when you give to yourself. For example, another thing could be like, if you don't take any break and you love beach. I just told one of my clients today to go to the beach, actually 2 this week. Just go to the beach, give yourself that. And while you'll be sitting there feeling so good that you gave yourself permission to come there, another kind of life will open up to you. Like it happened for me and happened for so many people. Another door will open in your own awareness and you'll be like, oh, that's what I love to do. Let me create a life around that. Let me see if I can help somebody else in this area. And slowly, when you will keep acting on those little voices within your head, because what we know from the time when we learned that there are 3 voices. So the voice of the soul is always talking to you. It's always directing you. But if you're not taking alone time, quiet time, where you're just with yourself, doing nothing else, not putting any pressure on yourself. A lot of us, we go on vacation with the pressure. Oh my God, when I come back from vacation, I have to do all these things. If you're just being with yourself, you will be able to hear your voice and it's going to start guiding you towards that. And once you start acting on it, you're going to feel the kind of joy within you that nothing can replace it. Nothing, nothing. We all are supposed to live with that kind of joy. Any fear, any anxiety, any worry, or depression that we feel within ourselves, it comes when we start going against our nature, when we start acting against our nature. If we stay aligned with who we are, we don't feel any of that. They might come because we are still in our human body. They might and go, come and go, because you know how to process them, you know how to release them, and how to always stay in your center. So that is all for today. I hope this conversation inspired you to look at your life in a little bit of a different way, or maybe even start giving yourself some alone time so you can really discover what you came here to do. Because one of the quotes from Wayne Dyer is, "Do not die with your music still inside of you, because this world needs to hear your melody. This world, this universe is incomplete without you. You are that important." So it's worth really, dabbling with that. It's worth really going after that discovery. So that is all for today. I hope it was helpful. I'm going to stop the recording.